Heidelberg Theological Seminary is passionate about training men, equipping them to proclaim the gospel around the globe. Through our program for the Pearl of the Orient Covenant Reformed Church, we are able to do that here at Heidelberg for the Philippines. The Pearl of the Orient Covenant Reformed Church is a fairly recent, young denomination, approximately 15 years old. It's a church that was begun with the help of the RCOS in advisory capacity to seek to have a faithful Reformed church in the Philippines. Following the first years of that church coming off the ground, it was realized that there was tremendous opportunity to grow and to plant churches, but there weren't trained men available. Seminary became aware of this in a conversation with Pastor Maynard, and so we developed a program to train men for the Philippines. What we determined to do is not just give seminars here and there which training men theologically, but we determined that these men should have a full seminary degree. And in order to do this, we made a commitment early on that we would send professors to the Philippines to teach intensive 1 or 2 week-long courses once a year. And then in addition, groups who would come together in the Philippines and watch and listen to these courses, we would maintain ongoing contact with them and do all the normal sorts of things that men do in coursework, writing papers and taking exams, so that when they are completed in about 4 or 5 years of working at this, they will have completed a full theological program, seminary a master's program of training for the ministry. After several years of men going there in the summertime, I had been there twice, and the program growing initially from about 20 people in attendance to the last time I was there and taught in 2 different locations in the Philippines, we had upwards of 60 men sitting in a classroom. Some of them just there to audit, but they were learning from the program. Obviously, when the pandemic came along, we were not able to travel there, though we had planned to do. In fact, we were going to take 2 professors in 2020. And so as that developed, and even in the Philippines, they were unable to travel to come together to do their study. And so rather than letting just things sort of sit there not doing anything, we determined that we would examine the idea of teaching courses live on Zoom. We started teaching one course last fall, and it really went well. We would teach the course here on Friday evening. I taught a course on ecclesiology, and that is there Saturday morning. So as in certain places men came together into groups or individual would dial in, I would have upwards of 40 to 45 men dialing in. We had it set up in such a way that they could submit questions to me and I could respond to them. And as that course went along, more men inquired, can we join? We want to learn more. And so the second semester, just finishing up today, we are teaching 2 courses. I teach one, another professor then dials in and teaches the second one. And it's been just really received well and has been a good way to teach men through this wonderful program called Zoom on the internet. You know, I remember early on when I was having a conversation with Pastor Knapp, and he told me, he said virtually this, that if we had 10 men trained, we could start 10 new churches tomorrow. Well, that's exactly what we are beginning to see. The men that even while they are still students, and many of the men that are in the program there now are already pastors. They're pastors of small independent churches, but they're learning and they're excited about becoming reformed. And so the benefits are obvious to me that the church will be growing tremendously in the Philippines. We started initially in the one island called Luzon, but we have moved into Visayas, and we have moved into Mindanao area, and the growth is obviously already happening. We have agreed that we would provide all the costs that are involved. When men go there to teach in the intensive courses there, we rent space in a Baptist seminary. We cover the costs. Students travel there, meals. For the most part, we cover all of those costs along with their textbooks. In some cases where they meet together then and continue their coursework with watching videos, they need internet, they need computers. We cover all of those costs, and it comes to about, including the cost of the professors traveling and providing courses here, it comes to about an average of $2,000 per student. Obviously, the way that a seminary is able to provide any program for its students is with the partnership that we have with our supporters. If you would like to support particularly our program in the Philippines, that would be a great asset, not just to the seminary, but to the Philippines and in the mission field there. So we would invite you to consider doing that. There are a number of ways through the internet or by personal contact with us that you can provide that support, and therefore consider yourself to be a partner with the seminary in training men in the Philippines.